Hey guys, welcome to the first of a couple of lessons that I'll be doing for the new conference. I want to say symposium, but yeah. Again, we get to play some string instruments, and we need to thank Merigien Meyer for putting this all together with the lovely people. So without further ado, here's a basic lesson on, I suppose, walking double bass in the jazz genre. If you don't know what walking bass is, if you've listened to any famous or popular jazz recording from Buble to Diana Krall, you can pick one. At some point, you would have heard someone do this. Or thereabouts. So, the one big difference to note, the difference between the genres of classical and jazz, and this is very broad strokes, very rough description that I'm giving you, is with classical musicians and the music you create, it's more about developing a beautiful tone with great technique in a section with a piece of music that's been prescribed to you generally. There's very little free um, embellishment or improvisation or composition that has to happen. Whereas with jazz, it's almost the reverse. We are given music, which is mostly a guide, because a lot of our music focuses on improvisation and musical creativity. Um, but the nature of the instrument requires that there's only one way to play double bass, technically, in my opinion, and that's just using good old, what I'll call classical technique. This instrument is centuries old, and it makes sense that you use existing knowledge and existing methods of teaching because it's proven to work. And there are spectacular players the world over. But some of the most notable crossover players, or in my opinion, the most notable crossover player would be someone like Edgar Meyer, who has happily got one foot in the classical field and happily in the jazz field, plays country even. And the man's, he's a prodigious musician. So without too much waffling, the one difference between the two genres is that, we all learn theory and harmony and all that, but with classical musicians, it's a means to an end for composition and analysis and harmony. With jazz musos, your theory is almost always immediately applicable to what it is you're playing. You can play your theory the day you learn it. And that kind of is the thinking behind walking bass lines. Like, our job is to deliver a certain chord sequence at a certain time with the correct harmony underneath. So realistically, I could play a song like Autumn Leaves that has the song chord structure C minor 7, F7, B flat major 7, E flat major 7, A half diminished, D7 flat 9, G minor 7. So that might sound like Greek to you. But it's actually based on just major scale theory. It's basically on every root you can build a triad, and by extension, you can build a chord. And it's got a sequence. So in any key, really, the sequence is 1 major 7, 2 minor 7, 3 minor 7, 4 major 7, 5 dominant 7, 6 minor 7, 7 would be half diminished or minor 7 flat 5, and then you're back at the tonic. And we could play that as jazz musicians. So it's not just so much we're playing the roots. So in the key of F major 7, F, A, C, E, G, B, D, F, A, C, E, G, and so on. So I'm essentially playing all the chord tones. So if I made up a song like a phone number, which is quite common in jazz, where you go 1, 6, 2, 5, you're referring to the chord qualities found on chords 1, which is major 7, 6, minor 7, 2 minor 7, and 5 dominant 7. So in terms of roots in F, you're looking at, and this is the building block to hundreds and thousands of songs. You can pick Blue Moon, you saw me standing alone, as an example. There are literally hundreds. Na 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 na. Not that it's a standard. Na 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 na. So instead of just walking the roots out, if I had the time, I could walk out a whole chord sequence, and it will be based. If I just play a version of just roots, I could play. So now I'm going to play the roots and the thirds of every chord. So now it sounds more like a bass line. So now I'm just going to pivot. So so I'll play them all ascending. So this is ascending. Now I'm going to pivot. Turns into more of a line. Now I'm going to add scale tones. So I'm going to add some syncopation. And it really is theory on the fly, but it's putting that theory to practical use and in a musical setting, obviously. So this is a bit weird, obviously, because I'm not playing along to a band. But fundamentally, this is what I would be playing in any setting. So as it pertains to theory and walking, they are very much intertwined. Improvisation as well. But as far as humanly possible, the only other real difference is the technique of the pizzicato that you'd play. So I don't bow any of this. And the pizzicato is not kind of in a traditional sense where, you'd be plucking upward. Yeah, you kind of almost play through the string, I suppose. And every string will weigh differently, but you use your thumb against the fingerboard as counter pressure. So you pull downward and through almost. And just like everybody else, you also have to practice scales and fingering, and you've got to get it all right with good technique, good tone. And that is just a quick little lesson on walking bass lines.